What's up, everybody? This is Wendell King, co host of Truth to Power Uncut. And we're doing a special show right now because I just really want to unpack a lot of the demolition going on with the attacks on Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. So I do think that it's very important that we actually talk about what is it exactly that came with the win of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I've been saying from the beginning that y'all are looking at the candidate on the ballot when I'm looking at the impact of the future of this ballot. So what came along with it? Number one, Kamala Harris, which is a black woman, a woman of color, as the first female vice president, and she just so happens to be a black woman, black identified woman, and she does have Asian culture, Indian culture, rather, also. So I think that that's number one because we come from a lineage of all men. For 46 terms, there have been nothing but men, and not just men, but white men in particular, white men in particular. But in this case, we have a young, vibrant, vivacious HBCU graduate, member of the D9, Kamala Harris. So that speaks worlds of things. That's an enormous change, not just for women, but for black people, for brown people, for Latin people, for immigrants from Germany, immigrants from Switzerland, wherever you may be, because we're in a country that was literally created by the hands of immigrants. So that's number one that is key, and I hope that people take that into consideration. But the number two thing is what it brings is an outlet for black people, ADOS, American descendants of slavery. Because it's been a big thing where people are like, y'all are fighting for this system, y'all are fighting for the state, y'all are upholding the state. Well, that's what you do, you. And in this case, the system itself is greater than us, is bigger than us. When we are 12.7% of the population, then we have to be honest with ourselves and say that there is absolutely no way possible we can have a black party. It will not happen. We have to have a cultivated system. And so the way to do that is to work inside out. Well, I've seen people that really are against it, right? They're really against it, but then there are black people that are students at PWIs that got their degrees from PWIs, or they're working on graduate degrees at PWIs. Well, what is the difference in the system that you're working inside of? Because clearly there are historical black colleges and universities that can offer you the same education, but you chose to go to the predominantly white institution for a reason. I'm not mad at you for choosing that, but you must own that. So the same state that you are saying that you're so angry that we are supporting, you're supporting it also with your grant money, your refund checks, your loans, your mama bill money. It's the same thing. The difference is yours is not a political, the government, like people either. What this impactfully means for us is that we now have an opportunity to actually go crazy with this and do some great things. So then people say, well, the Democratic Party hasn't done anything for black people. That is a complete lie. And we know it's a lie. We come with receipts, guys. In 1962, you still couldn't vote. You were not a part of any party. You were not a part of the census, right? We know this to be true. This is reality, right? We were Republicans, like so many love to say. Black people were mainly Republicans. Up until around 1965, we were Republicans. Then we started switching over. Why did we switch? We started switching because the Republican Party literally did not care about black people. The Republican Party literally did not entertain black needs. It was not an entertainment. That's just the reality of it. The only reason black people were even a part of the Republican Party is because most of us ADOS, American descendants of slavery, were down south, where Republican was pretty much the only party to be a part of in that space during that time. Was a Republican, so therefore we jumped on board because the person who freed us was a white Republican. But the reality is he freed us, gave us nowhere to go, and here today we're still demanding reparations from the Democratic Party, the ones that did not even promise us the reparations, rather than the Republican Party that actually promised us the reparations. But what else does the Democratic Party do for us? Well, the Democratic Party has a leadership, and the Democratic Party leadership is 40% black Americans. The Democratic Party gave us our first man of color as president. The Democratic Party just delivered to us our first female vice president that just so happens to be black. The Democratic Party has delivered to us black mayors all across the nation. The Democratic Party has delivered us black chiefs of police all across the nation. Now, let's talk about what the Republican Party has delivered us. The senator. I'm done. Colin Powell was appointed. He was appointed. He was elected into position under the Bush administration, either Bush. He wasn't elected. He was appointed, right? But we know that Colin Powell is more on our end than their end. He ended up in the middle because that was just the thing to do. If you were conservative during his era, you went to the Republican Party. But his idealism, his logic is very that of Democrat, and it's not a secret. He's very open with it. But let's see status quo. We have Kim Klacik. We have John Darwin. I'm like breaking up, y'all. I'm really sorry about that. I don't know why it's breaking up. It's StreamYard. That's why I don't like it. But anyway, who else do we have? We had 7 black people to run for office this time. They were on the ballot November 3rd. 7 guys, 7 black men and women. 1 woman, and the rest were guys. And they all lost. Go figure. Republicans did not vote them in. The same Republicans that placed them on stage during the RNC to serve as mascots to try and bring in some black attraction did not vote them in. Really. So let's so I think we have a picture. Let's look at this picture because I really want to unpack Kamala some more. So while we're getting that picture together, it's coming. Y'all probably see it before I do. So here's the picture that that I created. I really wanted people to get into it. It's like really taking my Twitter. I was so mad because normally I put a little stamp of approval on it for my credit. But anyway, see these 45 white men that came before this one black party has done. Then look at the after-school program. Look at the Boys and Girls bailout. Look at the church, the Baptist Church and Kojic Church bailout of 1995. Look at the testing scores that when they started really understanding that standardized testing was only hurting the Black and Latinx communities rather than helping. So when you say the Democratic Party doesn't do anything, I want you to know that you're not talking to just one regular Joe. I was an active member of the Republican Party from 1999 to 2016. Yes, I voted for Barack Obama in 2008 and 12, but I was still a registered Republican. So I'm not taking wild guesses at this. I'm telling you that the black community has receipts on the Democratic side, but we have no receipts. Republican side. Somebody said open point tonight. Period. Yeah. It's reality for black people. It has done a million things for black people. The question is if black people are willing to accept that. because we want it all, and we should want it all. But the reality is, for us to say that we've got nothing is a slap in the face of all of those people who have worked so diligently to make sure that we did garner something. So the mere fact that we have the Democratic Party produced our first black president, which was a man, our first black and only female vice president, which is Kamala Harris, is a slap in the face. We've had several, well, not several, just 2 or 3 SCOTUS, Supreme Court justices. We already have Biden has already told us he's lived up to every promise he gave us. Want to start there? He's lived up to every promise. But the next thing he told us, the first thing he told us was, I will give you a Supreme Court justice that will be a black woman. If you don't think the reason Mitch McConnell was in a rush to fill that before the presidency is because he knew that Biden was going to give it to a black woman, you are crazy. That Republican, Mitch McConnell, knew that Donald Trump was going to lose. Biden had already exposed his hand by saying that he was going to give us a black female on the Supreme Court. So he wanted to make sure that he got that person filled immediately before Joe Biden could come and give that to a black woman. So when you say that the Democrats haven't done anything, I always compare it to that of the single mother beat up on. She's the one that everyone is saying doesn't do anything. The child is complaining. But then when the father pops up at the child's 17th birthday, the child falls on their knees crying because they long for this love that they never had gotten, while they're crucifying the person that sat there and at least tried. So if we crucify the party that has at least tried and say nothing about the party who simply did not give a damn, we are crazy. This election was not about Donald Trump and Joe Biden. It was about good versus evil. Luckily, good won, but isn't it amazing how much evil we were able to see on our way to that good? We were able to see white America's true colors, those people who does not have a problem with social injustices. That's in real life. We were able to see the ignorance of black people, for those black people who chose to vote for Donald Trump because A, they spied the Democratic Party because they felt like the Democratic Party was pumping black women too much, or B, because they made $1 over 1,000 and felt like they had somehow arrived in the time of 2016 to 2019. And then we saw how easily persuaded Latinx is. We know they're not mythological. We know that they're not monolithic. So we understand that it wasn't the whole Latinx community, but mainly those Cubans and Venezuelans that were easily contaminated by this miscommunication of Donald Trump intentionally about socialism and communism from propaganda, but they believed it, right? So this was an opportunity for us to really be exposed to each other so that we don't have to guess. So I put on my Facebook page a couple of weeks ago, and I stand by for the rest of my life. I don't hate people who voted for Donald Trump. I don't hate them, but I don't trust them either. Because if you can sit and support someone who slapped me, then you're not my friend. If you can sit and support someone who kicked me while I was down, you're not my friend. I don't care if we match by skin layers. I could care less by that. Because you don't like yourself. If you're a black man or a Latinx person and you were standing for Donald Trump, you don't love yourself. And I'm telling you, you don't love yourself. Because if you loved yourself, if nothing else, because of the social injustice, you would have said that is enough for me to not encourage anyone to support a person like that. Because it was good versus evil. Period. So the next time someone wants to challenge you on why you voted for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, or why do you support them, and they tell you because they've not done anything for the Democratic Party, you force them to produce receipts of what the Republican Party has done for the Democratic Party, and then you produce the receipts of what the Democratic Party has done. And it's very easy. They've given us the top 2 seats. They've given us the first president that was a black man. And now they've given us the first female vice president that is also a black woman. Those are the top two receipts. You can't get no better than that. But then when they say, well, policy-wise, what have they done? You bring up the after-school program. You bring up the welfare reform. You bring up the real prison reform. The real prison reform that was produced actually during, at the end of Bill Clinton for him trying to right his wrong. And then Barack Obama came and brought it home when he released over 2,000 inmates and 1,000 were black men. While we're calling Donald Trump's prison reform for black people when he only released 44 black men, 3 black women, and over 1,000 white men. While we're talking about prison reform, when they say that Barack Obama took money from HBCUs and Donald Trump gave it back, you make sure you let them know that Donald Trump didn't give HBCUs a penny. Not me. Did he give them back? Because it's the money that Donald Trump gave to HBCUs was in areas that was dedicated to urban areas because it came out of the same bucket that is already for designated universities of urbanists. So therefore, Texas University couldn't get it without taking the chance of losing their regular endowments because it's already a school built for black people. So he didn't give us anything. So out of the 250 million, only 85 million actually went to HBCUs, and it only went to private HBCUs because they were the ones that wasn't already coming out of that bucket. Knowledge is power. Stop letting people tell you something. When you think about what has just happened, unpack it clearly. Kamala Harris represents the future of the Democratic Party. If you know anything about politics, you understand that the VP always shows you the direction the party is going in. Come on, y'all. The direction that the party is going in is obviously black women motivated and inspired. It is Latinx pushed. And it is still, of course, a part of the white threshold. We can't be ignorant, guys. You can't expect for Joe Biden to come up and only work for black folk. He has to work for black folk, Latin folks, Russian folks, white folks, your folk, my folk. He got to work for all of them because at the end of the day, he has to please everyone. So he's not going to be this magic wand that a lot of people are trying to force you to say he will be. You don't have to say that. You don't have to say he's going to erase racism. There's no way he can erase racism. Let her brought that up. One last thing before I go. This crap about Joe Biden created this system. This is systemic Biden's mama wouldn't even thought of. Okay. He didn't create the systemic racism that we live under today. It was created before the Constitution was even written. Okay? When Amerigo Vespucci sent Christopher Columbus' ass over here looking for the New World, and they stole this property from Aztec, Mexicans, and Indians, that's when the shit started. Okay? That's when systemic racism began. So stop this Joe Biden created. In 1974, he did write a letter to the Speaker of the House saying that he didn't think black and white people should have been on the bus together. He's apologized for that a million times, but that was a part of the times. But he's apologized. Y'all forgive y'all daddy for beating on y'all mamas. Y'all forgave y'all mamas for putting the light bill in y'all name and you didn't realize you was 18 years old trying to get your life turned on. We forgive people when they really are sincerely, genuinely apologizing. He's apologized. The 1994 crime bill was bad for those 2 pages out of the 49. But there were 47 more pages, guys. Read them. See the money that it unlocked in black communities specifically. Look at what it did for welfare reform. Specifically, look what it did to bail out the Boys and Girls Club. Specifically, look how it gave birth to the after-school program because the arts were being taken out of school because of George Bush and Ronald Reagan with the dare and say no to drugs foolishness from Nancy Reagan. No pass, no play. Be clear on this, and also be clear that the 3 strikes law was messed up, but it was actually trying to present a checks and balance for Ronald Reagan, where they were giving black boys 45 years on their first drug offense. And so he created this legislation that said they have to commit that same crime 3 times before you can give them anything. And judges messed it up and abused it. Be fair, read up, or shut up. And another thing, some said that man called y'all super predators. That was Hillary Clinton, and I forgave her because I understood what she was saying, because I was a child during that time, and I knew some super predators. I had some in my family. Yeah. Jumping over the gate, stealing a copper. Yeah. Super predator. Super predator. Get with it. So these things are real. So stop lying on the man. That was my point with that. Stop lying on the man. Stop lying. He never said nothing about wild animals, none of that. Stop lying. What he did was he made a reference, and this was in 1996, when he made the reference about wild animals. He didn't say he was talking about black people or brown people. If you really go look at it, the conversation on that was about South Oakland, and it was about Mexicans in real life. That was the conversation in that piece. But of course, we as black people were professional victims, so we're going to say anything bad was talking about us. But in real life, the wild animals was a bad reference, a poor reference, but he was referring to Mexican Americans, not y'all. So chill out. But to bring all of this back together, we should be excited. We should be screaming at the top of our lungs, because Black power was on the ballot. So somebody whisper in Ice Cube's Westfield ear that this is when we insert our Black agenda. Let Lil Wayne know to just go and try and write an album to match Fireman, because I haven't liked him since then. Tell 50 Cent his claim to fame is Power, the Ghost Book, or whatever it's called. Work on season 2, okay? Tell Kanye, Kim is gonna divorce him soon. I'm sure she's already talking to her attorneys. But the reality is, guys, we have to know that this is the time that we apply pressure. So this is when we get our city and state politicians afraid, because now we have exercised our strength, and they know we will vote you out. We will be voting you out next if you do not put up or show up for us. But this is the time, because now we've gotten them over the finish line. So I hope that everyone goes out and celebrate. I know that I am. Cheers, because we got them in. We went against all odds, and we got over 75 million votes for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. I can't wait to see this cabinet. I can't wait to see the cabinet. I'm sitting on pins and needles, because I know the cabinet is going to be hot. Make sure y'all check us out on Tuesday for Hot Topics, where I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit about this, but we got a couple of more things to talk about, and I'll be joined with Dr. Candace Matthews and Dr. Aurelia Johnson. Brother Dean Snells, I don't think will be in, but you can catch us every Tuesday and Thursday, 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for Hot Topics. If you don't see us here, you can always go to Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube, and it's going to be Truth to Power Uncut. Make sure y'all find it. You'll know it's us, because you'll see the black fist coming out of the red. I don't know if there's a moon or the red moon. Let's say red moon. So it's Wendell King, and I'm signing out. I hope you all enjoy your weekend. And remember, we are Democrats, we are Republicans, we are independents, but before and after everything, we are Americans. Have a nice weekend.
I ask no favor for my sex. All I ask of our brethren is that they take their feet off our necks.
And that little girl was me.